Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm joined today by New Jersey Attorney General Matt Plotkin, Colonel Pat Callahan, Superintendent of New Jersey State Police, Trenton Mayor Reed Gussiora, Trenton Police Director Steve Wilson, Pastor John Taylor of the Capital City Community Coalition, members of the Mercer County Homicide Task Force, Officers Jose Ocasio and Alan Reisner, Captain Tim Mosher, and EMT Paul Haddad of Trenton Emergency Medical Services. And we're also joined by Sequoya's mother, Sequoya Bacon-Jones. Today we announced the arrest of Isaiah Roberts, age 19, of the 1400 block of South Clinton Avenue in Trenton, New Jersey, for the murder of Sequoya Bacon-Jones, age 9, of Kingsbury Square. Roberts has been charged with murder, second-degree aggravated assault, fourth-degree aggravated assault for pointing a weapon, possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose, 3 counts, and unlawful possession of a weapon in the second degree. And we are also joined today by Assistant Prosecutor Mike Grillo, who will be handling this case, and the primary detective, Lou Vega. At 7:27 p.m. on March 25th of 2022, Trenton police officers were detailed to 4D of Kingsbury Square on a report of shots fired. When they arrived at Kingsbury, Officer Jose Ocasio and Alan Reisner were in the immediate area and were the first to respond. When they arrived at Kingsbury, they observed Sequoya on the ground with an apparent gunshot wound and several citizens rendering aid, and Sequoya's mom was there too, also rendering aid. Officer Ocasio immediately rushed to Sequoya and took over providing aid and, perhaps more importantly, comfort. Officers Ocasio and Reisner then brought Sequoya to their police car to take her to Capitol Health. All this time, the officers were keeping Sequoya calm, continuing to comfort her, and continuing to render medical aid. Trenton Thames arrived on the scene and transferred Sequoya to their ambulance. Officer Ocasio stayed with Sequoya in the ambulance and continued to comfort her, while Captain Tim Mosher and EMT Paul Haddad, who are here today, continued to treat Sequoya. Officers Ocasio and Reisner, along with Captain Mosher and EMT Haddad, gave Sequoya a fighting chance. Sequoya was immediately taken into surgery, where Dr. Dennis Quinlan was able to stabilize her. She had sustained a single gunshot wound to the upper body, and the wound was a through-and-through gunshot wound. Sequoya was then taken to Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital in New Brunswick, but regrettably, she passed away at 11:59 p.m. Sequoya, despite fighting bravely for her life, couldn't overcome those injuries. The Homicide Task Force began its investigation. The members of the Homicide Task Force are here. They began their investigation and learned that Sequoya and her brother were playing with other children in the courtyard area of the low-rises at Kingsbury. It was determined that 2 females were in a dispute over Facebook posts, and they went to the courtyard to fight. As the fight was taking place, an altercation ensued between Isaiah Roberts and another male in the immediate area of the fight. Roberts and the male separated, but that altercation then made its way into the courtyard, where numerous shots were fired. Roberts then fled the area in an Acura, which was described by numerous residents of Kingsbury who called 911. Detectives conducted numerous interviews, reviewed countless hours of video, and they spent hours upon hours canvassing, re-canvassing, and just talking to and connecting with people. They pieced this case together And at 11:45 yesterday morning, detectives from the Homicide Task Force located the Acura and initiated a motor vehicle stop on Dutz Avenue in Hamilton Township. As the vehicle pulled over and was pulling over before it came to a stop, Isaiah Roberts exited the passenger side of the vehicle and fled on foot. Detectives from the Homicide Task Force engaged in a lengthy foot pursuit into a wooded area along Route 129. It was later learned that Roberts was fleeing Trenton to East Brunswick to hide from authorities. A dragnet was then cast over the area by the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Trenton Police Department, Mercer County Sheriff's Office, the New Jersey State Police, the Hamilton Police, and the New Jersey Transit Police. At 12:45 yesterday afternoon, Roberts was arrested as he entered the Delaware River just up here on Lamberton Road. It's often been said that it takes a village, and this case proves that to be true. Many area residents called 911, helped to care for Sequoya, provided information, and came forward to help detectives apprehend Roberts. And I'm compelled to highlight one of those concerned citizens. There was a resident of the low-rises who, when the shooting started, was able to get several of their children who were playing into her apartment and out of the line of fire. She's a hero. This case coming together between citizens and police are the best that Trenton has to offer. I don't say this enough, but from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank the Mercer County Homicide Task Force. It was their dedication and laser focus on this case that brought Roberts to justice. The Homicide Task Force lived, breathed, ate, and slept with this case. Their compassion, hard work, and dedication are absolutely unmatched. They are the best of the best, and I am honored to work with them every day. While today hopefully brings some closure to Shashay and her family, I have to be very honest. I wish we weren't here. In a perfect world, Sequoya would be with us today. She would be in class at Parker School, and that tonight she would be in the courtyard playing with her friends. And Sequoya's mom, some of her family members are holding up pictures of Sequoya. And the one that's being held up over here was taken last weekend. It's Sequoya and her grandfather as she attended the father and daughter dance here in the city of Trenton, which my office and the mayor helped to sponsor. If this isn't a call, and if this isn't the rallying point for this idiotic and senseless violence to stop, I don't know what is. Ladies and gentlemen, Attorney General Matt Plackett.
Thank you, Prosecutor, not only for your remarks, but for the work of this office on this case and every day in this city and across this county. There's no way to put it. This is a tragedy. Sashay, beautiful Sequoya, the family. We shouldn't be here. Sashay was 9 years old. Sequoya was 9 years old. She was doing what 9-year-olds do. She was playing with her friends, her brother. She should not only be here, She should have had the things that 9-year-olds should have. She should have had class field trips and parties, proms and graduations. I'm told she wanted to be a law enforcement officer. She could have been any one of us. She could have had my job. This tragedy, this awful tragedy, needs to be a wake-up call. The violence cannot continue. We cannot continue to have press conferences like this one. The community of Trenton and the state of New Jersey cannot continue to endure these horrors. Shay, and to your whole family, know that the state of New Jersey stands with you. We are here for you. Mayor, Director, we're here for this community every day of the year, but particularly this day. The work that the Homicide Task Force did and that the officers did in giving Sashay the best chance at surviving this horrible incident is nothing short of heroic. When we talk about task forces, they can sound abstract. This is not abstract. The people behind me and next to me who worked all weekend, who are mothers and fathers themselves, who felt the pain, and who brought the alleged perpetrator to justice, are doing heroic work. I wish they were out of business. At the Attorney General's office, we are going to do and are doing everything we can to tackle the epidemic of gun violence. We're going to go at the root causes. We're going to hold those accountable who inject guns into our community. We're going to put programs in place and have put programs in place to interrupt the cycles of violence through violence intervention programs and hospital-based violence intervention programs in our communities. And Trenton has been a tremendous partner in those efforts. And in the hopefully extremely rare instances when we have tragedies like this one, I want everybody to understand that there are teams of dedicated professionals like the folks in this room who are going to work tirelessly to find the perpetrators and to bring them to justice and to keep our communities safe. I want to thank specifically Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, the Trenton Police Department Director, Mercer County Sheriff's Office, West Windsor Police Department, and New Jersey State Police. I'm joined by my partner, Colonel Patrick Callahan, for the work that's done on this task force and that has been done over the past several days on one of, if not the most difficult cases they will ever see. To the people in Trenton, know that we stand with you. We will be providing resources, and we're here for you every day. Shay, I am so deeply sorry. She was a beautiful soul, and she won't be forgotten.
Colonel Pat Callahan.
Prosecutor. Good morning, everybody. I have the unfortunate position of receiving an email every time that there's a shooting in the state of New Jersey. And quite frankly, my phone goes off far too much, as it did late Friday. And when I saw that it was Sequoya, the first thing I did was pray for her mom and her family. And I got up the next morning, as I do every day, 7 days a week for the last 2 years, got on a prayer call with faith-based leaders from around this state, and we lifted her and you up, and have every day since. And a hush came over that phone. And I'm tired of praying for children that are shot while playing, quite frankly. I'm tired of looking at teddy bears and candles on sidewalks around cities around the state of New Jersey, and it's about time we take more action to make sure that it never happens again, and so that moms like Shay don't have to endure this type of tragedy. The prosecutor called me and said, "Colonel, would you offer a couple words?" And my mind went immediately to the real-time crime center that we opened up last April. And I had all the stats of investigations and firearms seized and kilos of cocaine and fentanyl. And you know what? It didn't seem like right, because there's still much to do. Still so much to do. And that's been phenomenal work for the last year with the Homicide Task Force and all of our partners at that real-time crime center. But evidenced by the fact that we're all standing here today, it's still not enough. And law enforcement and community needs to come together. The public are the police, and the police are the public, and we need to understand that. And on the way down here, knowing that I wasn't going to read off stats, I thought of the name Sequoia. And if everybody in this room thinks about that, what is Sequoia? It's the largest, strongest rooted tree on the face of the earth. And the little I know about Sequoia, she had, there's one Sequoia that was known as the mother of the forest, and I think she had that.
She did.
I think she had, at 9, understood that maternal instinct, and that's a special place to be, and she won't ever be forgotten for that. So just know that all of us in this room, all of your partners, certainly the state police included, will continue praying for you. We have the tools. We have the resources to make sure that we hold people like Isaiah Roberts accountable. And that's our assurance and our guarantee to you. So we're not lighting candles and putting teddy bears on sidewalks throughout this state and throughout our country, quite frankly. It's up to us. It's our obligation. When all of us here raised our right hand and took that oath, it was to make sure that Sequoias were able to go out on a Friday night and play for a few hours, whether that was manhunt, tag, and then go home. And that didn't happen this time, but it's up to each one of us to make sure that we protect the most innocent among us. You will always be in our prayer, Shay. God bless you.
Thanks, Colonel. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Pastor John Taylor from the Friendship Baptist Church and the president of the Capital City Community Coalition. Pastor Taylor called all of his fellow pastors Saturday evening and asked them on Sunday to pray for Sequoia and to encourage the members of their congregation to come forward. So Pastor Taylor, thank you for everything you did. Now I ask Mayor Reed Gussiori to say a few words.
Thank you, Angela. Today is a sad and angry day in the city of Trenton. It's sad because we lost an innocent child, and we're angry because of how senseless this has become, and all too common. I was just talking to Shay before here, and I was at the father-daughter dance, and when I walked in, Sequoia curtsied me. And I just remember what a sweet and innocent child she was. And when I was talking to Shay, she said that when she went home, she said that she met the mayor. And what a special little girl she was. We sent crisis counselors to Parker's school for the other children that were devastated by this loss. And Trenton is bleeding for Shay and for Sequoia, for her family, for her friends. And we can't let this happen any further. But it will continue. And what I want to do is thank the citizens of Trenton that stepped up to the plate. All too often, citizens don't want to get involved when a crime has occurred. But the hundreds of calls that the prosecutor's office fielded, and the Mercer County Homicide Task Force that fielded, they cooperated this time. And we caught the killer. But we all have to, in the future, continue to cooperate with the men and women in blue to solve these crimes and to put an end to them. The Real-Time Crime Center can solve the crimes, but it can't prevent them. Only the citizens of Trenton can prevent this further. And we want the citizens of Trenton to put down the guns, put down the violence, stop the bullying on social media, which started all this, and just try to meet their differences without having to resort to the violence that has occurred, that we lost this sweet little girl. Shay, we'll be with you, and we'll try to do what we can to help you further and pick up the pieces, and all the other children in the Parker School and throughout Trenton. Our hearts bleed for you. God bless.
To say a few words, Trenton Police Director Steve Wilson, who was with us all weekend. He has been a great partner as the Trenton Police Director, and his support of the Homicide Task Force is unparalleled. Director Steve Wilson.
Thank you. I won't go into how this team did what they do, and they solved this horrible crime. You've heard it from the prosecutor, you heard it from the general and the mayor. I want to elaborate a little bit more on what the mayor said. The community came forward and they helped. But even deeper than that, the mayor talked about social media bullying. Like many tragedies in the city of Trenton and other cities in New Jersey.